They should not have survived this. Everything was set for their destruction. The road, the timing, the enemy waiting in silence. Thousands of lives balanced on a single decision. Not a strategy, not an order from above. A moment of confusion, a tired glance at a map, a turn that should never have happened. History remembers battles. It remembers victories and defeats. But it almost forgot this. Because sometimes, history is changed, not by what we plan, but by what we get wrong. December 1944, the Ardennes Forest lay under a thick, frozen blanket of snow. Every tree stood like a sentinel, every shadow hiding secrets. The air was cold, cruel, unforgiving, and the Battle of the Bulge had begun. Thousands of American soldiers marched through the forest, each footstep crunching on the icy ground, each breath visible in the frigid air. Their uniforms, stiff with snow and mud, clung to their weary bodies. Every soldier carried not just a rifle, but the weight of uncertainty. The weight of survival, the weight of history itself. Pause. The German army advanced with terrifying speed, their tanks cutting through the forest like unstoppable iron beasts. Shells tore the earth apart. Men shouted, guns roared, and the forest seemed alive with chaos. Every decision mattered. Every choice could mean life or death. And yet, in the midst of this hell, a single, unnoticed mistake would save over 2,000 lives. It was a wrong turn, a minor navigational error. That would change history. Pause. The 394th Infantry Regiment had been tasked with holding a critical road junction, a point so vital that losing it could unravel the entire defensive line. Soldiers trudged through snow that reached their knees, maps clenched in frozen fingers. The cold gnawed at them. Hunger gnawed at them. Fear gnawed at their hearts. They had memorized routes, scanned treetops for danger, but the forest had its own mind, and the forest did not care for plans. Then came the fork in the road. It was subtle, almost invisible, obscured by snow-laden branches. The convoy's driver, exhausted and half-blinded by fatigue and frost, turned the wrong way. The soldiers barely noticed at first. They continued, trusting the path. Yet they were walking straight into an invisible shield, a hidden valley, protected by the dense Ardennes. At first, uncertainty struck like ice. Where are we? The soldiers whispered, voices trembling, eyes darting. The trees seemed to close in, the wind howled, and every snapping branch echoed like a rifle shot. They had taken the wrong road, a mistake that could have killed them all. And yet, somehow, impossibly, they were safe. Pause. For 24 hours, the valley became their sanctuary. Outside, the battle raged. Artillery shells ripped apart the forest. Bullets tore through the air. Men screamed, sometimes from fear, sometimes from pain, sometimes from the simple, raw terror of being alive. The soldiers huddled in the snow, hearts pounding, rifles at the ready, every sense alert, and yet the enemy never came for them. Time stretched, elastic and unrelenting. Each minute felt like an eternity. The wind stung their faces. Fingers froze to rifles. Their mouths, parched from cold and adrenaline, whispered prayers or curses, sometimes both. But through it all, the wrong turn had protected them. By some twist of fate, a moment of human error had become salvation. Meanwhile, reinforcements moved along the main road. They fought, they bled, they held positions that would determine the fate of thousands. And the soldiers in the valley, hidden from sight, watched silently. They saw nothing, yet they survived everything. 2,000 lives were spared, not by strategy alone, not by sheer bravery alone, but by a chance, a mistake, a wrong turn. Pause. Imagine that moment. Imagine the quiet terror. Imagine snow falling softly over men frozen in fear. While just beyond the trees, war rages with fire, blood, and chaos. Imagine that the smallest human error, something a map, a compass, or a leader's glance could have prevented, was the very thing that kept thousands alive. It is the paradox of war, The line between disaster and miracle is thinner than a thread. But the story does not end there. Slightly slower. Even after the immediate danger had passed, the soldiers faced new trials. Food was scarce. Water froze in containers. Frostbite crept silently along fingers and toes. Exhaustion weighed heavily on their minds. Some whispered to themselves, some prayed, some stared silently into the trees, listening to the distant sounds of battle, imagining every possible threat lurking just beyond the snowy ridge. Every heartbeat was a reminder of mortality, every frozen breath a testament to endurance. The convoy eventually rejoined the main regiment. Their boots, caked with mud and snow, hands numb. Faces pale but resolute. Commanders soon grasped the significance of the wrong turn. A mistake that could have destroyed them all had instead preserved life, strengthened the unit, and shifted the momentum of a critical battle. The soldiers who took that wrong path were now alive, ready to fight, ready to survive, ready to carry history on their shoulders. And yet, in quiet moments, the soldiers thought about the randomness of survival. One step to the left, one step to the right. 1 second faster or slower could have spelled disaster. They had witnessed death and avoided it by chance. They had survived not because of meticulous planning alone, not only because of courage, but because fate had intervened, ever so delicately, like the quiet shift of snow on a tree branch. History does not often record the small miracles. We remember battles, strategies, leaders, victories, and losses. But it rarely tells us about the frozen roads, the hidden valleys, the mistakes that save lives. Yet without these small, human moments, history would be incomplete. The wrong turn in the Ardennes is one such moment. It reminds us that not everything can be planned. That courage is not the absence of fear, but the persistence despite it. That chance, accident, and human error can alter the course of history. Pause. Picture it. Snow falls softly. The wind whispers. Men press forward, every step a gamble. Guns roar in the distance. And yet, a wrong turn. A single decision made in fatigue, in cold, in confusion, becomes the shield that protects thousands. Every soldier alive that day owes their life, not just to training or bravery, but to the unpredictable hand of fate. As we reflect, we see the lessons unfold. Life is fragile. History is fragile. Every moment matters. Every choice carries weight. And sometimes it is the smallest, unplanned action, the overlooked detour, that becomes the most decisive act. The wrong turn convoy did not seek glory. It did not choose fate. And yet, fate chose them. And through that choice, they survived. The Ardennes Forest today is quiet. Snow covers every scar. Trees stand silent. And yet, beneath that quiet, lie stories of survival, courage, and miraculous chance. The wrong turn is remembered, not because it was planned, but because it mattered, because it saved lives, because it reminded us that even in chaos, even in the darkest, coldest, most desperate moments, there is a spark of hope. And in the end, it was not just about survival. It was about human resilience, about endurance against impossible odds, about trust in each other, in small decisions, in life itself. It was about the understanding that sometimes mistakes can become miracles, and that every step, every choice, has the power to change history. What would you have done if you were there? Would you have panicked? Would you have frozen? Would you have trusted the path or questioned every shadow? History does not give us these answers. It gives us the stories, the lessons, the wonder, and the awe of human endurance. And so, remember, sometimes the wrong turn is exactly what saves lives. Sometimes the path we fear leads us to safety. And sometimes history is written by chance.